The 19th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China has held its fourth plenary session in Beijing. These meetings provide opportunity for leaders of the Communist Party of China to assess the country's needs and focus on planning for them. High on the agenda this session were the topics of upholding and improving the system of socialism with Chinese characteristics and advancing the modernization of China's system and capacity for governance. So, how and why have the socialist system and governance capability been highlighted? How will China go about improving these, and what are the challenges ahead? To discuss these issues and more, I'm joined in the studio by Mr. He Weiwen, Senior Fellow of the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China, and our current affairs commentator, Mr. Einar Tangen. We will also speak to Michele Geraci, former Undersecretary of State in Italy's Ministry of Economic Development, via satellite from Rome. That's our topic. This is Dialogue System. Let's talk to Mr. Michele Geraci in Rome. Mr. Geraci, you lived in China from 2008 to 2018 for a decade. From your observation in China, what are the unique features of this big term, socialist market economy of China?
Well, the success from the economic point of view, I think, is under everyone's eyes. We have had great achievements in reduction of poverty. Income for both rural and urban citizens has grown by 100 times over the last 40 years. The infrastructure has developed. When I came back to Italy in my role in the government, I've tried also to convey to the society here in Italy and in Europe the quick transition, both economic and social, that China has managed to do, even during just the decade that I have experienced by living in China. In terms of technology, e-payments, companies like WeChat, Alibaba, and even we have been trying to take any learning points from China and see what could be adapted in the European system. Of course, different political and economic systems, but I've tried personally to do also a benchmarking exercise to see what countries around the world did, and of course China was one of those in terms of these situations. I agree very much with what was said before, that we are now also in a situation where we need to look at with the fast change in technology, artificial intelligence and everything, having one driver in the driving seat and put aside all the debates, once agreement is reached, that's it. It may actually provide China with the more stability than under a hypothetical different political system. And this is what the stability that I think the country needs. It's a large country with large disparities. We still have tens of millions of people still below the poverty line. There is a targeted poverty program to alleviate even those. And even recent growth in headline GDP that may be even below 6% or 5%, which of course for us is a dream number, does not mean necessarily bad news, because in the face of a lower GDP you may actually have a higher quality of GDP, and which basically means a better distribution and getting a little bit more to the low end of the income spectrum, because when the income is more evenly distributed, that also stimulates consumption, the propensity to consume increase. We have also engaged with China, as you have seen, in the Belt and Road. Italy is one of the main European countries, the first G7 country to sign this MOU, because, and this has been personally my effort, because I think it is also an area where Europe and the rest of the world could participate. It's an opportunity. Like all projects, there are risks and there are challenges, but it is important to bring these in the public debate. And I'm glad that the more we talk about China here in Europe, the more people understand and dissipate some of the myths. One more point, if I may. The managing of a country large as China is indeed a challenge. And I think, as Xi Jinping said, quoting Lao Tzu, is managing a big country is like trying to fry a small fish. 自打锅若烹小鲜, which basically means you also have to be careful to do so much, but not more. And the example of the road turning is a very nice visual example that we don't know what needs to happen. So we have to, just like when you fry fish, always keep and look at what's going on and adjust it as needed.
Let's talk to Mr. Geraci in Rome. Mr. Geraci, let's talk about this from a specific angle. The Belt and Road Initiative. We know that Italy is the first country in the G7 to participate in this China-proposed initiative. What do you think will be the implications both economically and politically around the world?
We have had some political implication already, because we were heavily criticized both by the international press and even by the European allies, because just like you said, we were the first country to do that. In my view, being the first country poses, of course, those risks, but also some opportunities. And maybe what we are trying to do is to put Italy into a leading position just for being the first one. In fact, other countries, European countries, followed. Switzerland and even Luxembourg, one of the founding members of the European Union, followed. Just a little bit like what happened during the setting up of the AAB, where a few countries first joined, there was reluctance, and then the UK joined, and everyone followed, pretty much everyone except the United States and Japan. So for us, and for me personally, this was an opportunity to put the dialogue on China back at the center of the political agenda. I do think that information is at the basis to allow countries to talk and do business with each other. And I did find that there was a lack of knowledge about this program. It's very confusing in the minds of the Italian public. What is it that China wants to do? Of course, we do think it's an opportunity for our companies in some specific sectors to go into partnership with Chinese companies to develop infrastructure, energy, agriculture, and machinery, which are basically the things that Italian and Chinese companies can work together with, into the whole area that goes from China to Europe, so Central Asia, Middle East, and even Africa. In Africa specifically, we have a continuous problem of migration due to political and economic reasons in Africa. And my objective was, and will be anyway in the future, to give Africa a way to stabilize itself from a social and political point of view. And I do think that this Belt and Road could also be one way. It's not just China, it's Europe, it's United States, it's Japan that do invest in Africa. And the way we need to do it is to make sure that we do cooperate, to make sure that things are done in a transparent manner. Africa becomes a stable continent, and so we get the benefit, A, of having our companies doing business, which is very good, and stabilize this flow of people, which is not good for us, that we cannot, Europe cannot take 200 million people coming from Africa, and even Africa cannot deplete itself from probably the best people. The challenges are there, and it is important to know, and I think the interest is witnessed also in the fact that we are going back to China to attend the Shanghai Fair, to give support to companies, because companies don't like just the words that we politicians maybe sometimes say. They want to see concrete, tangible benefit. So
you're saying that
Shanghai Fair is an opportunity.
Shared future also means a shared responsibility. Thank you very much, Mr. Michele Geraci in Rome.